And after this I saw another messenger come down from the Shamaim, having great authority, and the earth was lightening from his esteem. Let me say that again. The earth was lightened from his esteemed. I'm going to pause there a second. Did you see the sunset today? This is this is the 19th. So this is January 19th, 2025. And a Sunday. And it was a purple, beautiful magenta sky about 6 o'clock. Now, verse 2. He cried with a mighty voice, saying, Baal the Great is fallen. No, I'm sorry. It has two B's. Babel the Great is fallen. Is fallen and has become a dwelling place of demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, and a haunt for every unclean and hated bird. Because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her riotous living. And I heard another voice from the Shemaim, saying, Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive her plagues. Verse 5. Because her sins have piled up to reach the Shemaim, and Elohim has remembered her unrighteousness. Verse 6. Render to her as she indeed rendered, and repay her double according to her works. In the cup which she has mix for her double. As much as she esteemed herself and lived luxuriously, so much torture and grief give to her, because in her heart she said, I sit as sovereignness, and I am not a widow, and I do not see mourning at all. Verse 8. Because of this, her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and scarcity of food, and she shall be burned up with fire, because Jehovah Elohim, who judges her, is mighty, and the sovereigns of the earth who committed whoring and lived luxuriously with her shall weep and mourn over her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing at a distance for fear of her torture, saying, Woe, woe, the great city Babel, the mighty city, which because your judgment has come in 1 hour. Before it said 1 day, and now it says 1 hour. You know, that could be what happened because of what they did when they were the Hollywood voted and it said no mentions for the creator of the world, God. And then within one day, guess what? The fire had consumed them. Verse 11. And the merchant of the earth wept. The merchants of the earth wept, and mourned over her, because no one buys their merchandise anymore. So it's probably bigger than just California. It's probably going to be more. More's on the way to say that there's no more people to buy their merchandise. Merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all citron wood and every object of ivory and every object of most precious wood and bronze and iron and marble and cinnamon and incense and fragrant oil and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and cattle and sheep and horses and carriages and the bodies of and bodies and lives of men, and the fruit of your being longed for has gone from you, and all your riches and splendor are lost to you, and you shall find them no more. Not at all. So, if it's a mass thing like that, it makes me think radiation is the way that the seed is dead. But, God has other ways, right? He can just say, snap his fingers and shut off the seed, because that's the seed of the life of a person, to cause them to be shooting blanks. Verse 15, the merchants of those who became rich by her, shall stand at a distance for fear of her torture, weeping and mourning, and saying, Woe, woe, the great city that was dressed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches was laid waste, and every shipmaster and every passenger and sails, and as many as work the seas, stood at a distance. Verse 18, and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like this great city? And they threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and mourning, and saying, Woe, woe, the great city, in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth. For in 1 hour she was laid waste. Yesterday when we read, or day before yesterday, one of I guess it was the chapter before this, the 17 probably, where it talked about there being a drying up of the land, or maybe it was in Job 34, one or the other, where there's a drying up of the waters, so that the Shamayim, the Kodeshim, can walk over on dry land from to New Jerusalem. So it would be from here to New Jerusalem, right?
Right.
And then it talks about losing ships, a third of the ships, right? And right here it doesn't say how much is lost, but it's saying that the ships are lost. So let's listen to number 20. Rejoice over her, O Shemaim, and you Qodesh, emissaries. So you set apart missionaries, right? And Nebiim, and that's the prophets, right?
Yes.
For Jehovah has completely avenged you on her. So, wow, that means the whole cup of wrath is going to be poured out in 1 day or 1 hour. Verse 21. And one mighty messenger picked up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, with such a rush, the great city Babel shall be thrown down and shall not be found any more at all. So that sounds like a tsunami. And the sound of the harpist and the musicians and the flutist and the trumpeters shall not be heard in you any more at all, and no craftsman of any trade shall be found in you any more at all, and the sound of the millstone shall not be heard in you any more at all. And the light of the lamp shall not shine in you any more at all, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall not be heard in you any more at all. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. For by your drug sorcery, all the nations were led astray. And in her was found the blood of Nebiim, prophets, and Quadeshim, saints, and of all who were slain on the earth. So right there, some people I've heard say the saints are not spoken of anymore after Revelations 4, but right there it speaks of the bride and the bridegroom, that they will no longer be found in the systems of um in the place of Babel again anymore, ever, evermore. Hmm. So that's going to be a complete. There's be no rebuilding. Okay, there will be no. We will rebuild. No, there won't be any more rebuilding. Do you get that? There will be no more, any more people in there. God's going to make a new heaven and new earth, and He is not going to prop up and make new something else, something old. It says it will not be there. The Kodeshim, the bride, the bridegroom, they will not be there anymore. So that is it. I'm going to go ahead and post this, and I am sorry for getting behind today. God bless.